Hello and welcome to today's Take 5. We are looking at the book of Psalms together. Today we're in chapters 111, right? And we're really close to the bang in the middle of the Bible. Psalm 119, it's the longest psalm, it's the longest chapter in the whole of the Bible. And we're going to work our way up towards just before then, Psalm 118 over these next couple of days, just going through the chapters together. I love the book of the Psalms. When you read through the Psalms, you can't help yourself but love God more. There's so much theology, there's so much depth. If you're feeling spiritually cold, if you're apathetic, as you read through the Psalms, it quite literally uplifts your spirit. It lifts your head, your gaze, your focus back onto God where it belongs. And today, Psalm 111 does this exactly. It lifts your spirit. It raises that kind of like excitement in your soul. And as I was reading it, I was just like, I just want to worship God. He's worthy of my worship. He's worthy of my praise and adoration. And that first verse, it says, I will extol the Lord. It says, praise the Lord. I will extol the Lord with all my heart. Not just some of my heart, not just a little bit or the majority, but all of it belongs to him, my whole heart. And I love it because if we want to be all in for God, that's what it requires. It requires all in praise, all in worship, adoration. Every part of my heart belongs to him. And later on, it goes on to say that all, it uses that word again, all his commands are trustworthy. The world that we live in, there's so many things that want to try and gain your trust or your attention. Not all of it is actually fully trustworthy. But everything that God declares and speaks and commands is fully 100% all trustworthy. He's fully trustworthy. And sometimes he calls us to do things that we're like, seriously? I know that there's been times in my life where I feel like God has commanded me to go and speak to someone, to go and pray for someone, to go and do something that didn't make sense in the natural, but it made sense in the supernatural. And all that God has to say and calls us to is 100%, all of it is trustworthy. And so sometimes we can get worried and nervous about the things that he commands us to do, but it's trustworthy. He's never going to let us fall short. He's never going to leave us out on a whim. Sometimes what he calls us to is dangerous, but he is still trustworthy. And so as we continue on, there's that really famous verse as well that talks about the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, verse 10. And I love the NLT version. It talks about it being like a foundation, and it talks about the foundation, it being like the foundation to true wisdom. There are lots of counterfeit wisdom options to us in the world that we live in. Lots of versions, different types of what we think looks on the outset as wise, or true, or full of knowledge, but actually true wisdom comes from him. And if you want to build, it's kind of that word foundation is really helpful rather than just beginning, because if we want to build a house, there's that story that Jesus tells. We want to build a house on the rock. It's the firm foundation. It's the best foundation. And true wisdom is building our lives on him. It's the foundation, the fear of the Lord. That foundation, if we want to find the foundation of that, that's where we kind of get access to true wisdom. And people get uncomfortable. I've spoken to people in the past about the fear of the Lord being the beginning of wisdom, and they're like, oh no, we shouldn't fear God. I'm like, no, 100%. Like the word awe and fear is actually the starting point at which we build wisdom and into our life. And sometimes, people they get overwhelmed by that kind of like we shouldn't live in fear. The perfect love casts out fear. But if God is God, then we need to know where we sit in the pecking order. And we need to know that we come to him in fear and trembling, but he gives us grace. He gives us access to him. He is Yahweh. He's the one that gives life. Everything he's in control of. And I think the starting point, the foundation of our life, if you like, in building a house, is that place. And that's where we find true wisdom. And it's a journey. I love as well that last verse. It says, to him bring eternal praise, but it talks about how it being wisdom is kind of like a journey that we take on. It's a process. Sometimes God gives us wisdom just in a moment, just like that. But I think oftentimes it's making good decisions, following his commands. And as we do that, as we journey with him, then we grow in wisdom. Jesus himself grew in wisdom as well. So yeah, anyway, some thoughts I had. I won't speak for much longer because that's our 5 minutes up. Take 5. See you tomorrow. Bye.